And again, the Stadium Stampede to me, I hate it when people start going, oh, well, it's better than Money in the Bank. Man, I enjoyed Money in the Bank too. I don't want to get into this was better than that. But I still do think in terms of the nonsense match, whatever you want to call it, yes, it was the best one that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
It was like a mini movie.
Yeah,
it was like
sort
a mini
of
dumb
agree.
movie.
I feel like, the current pandemic situation is obviously what has given rise to these cinematic matches, or at least the fact that they're hanging on, right? They're not just like a one-off thing. Like, they are happening now. It's just a thing now. And I feel like this is my favorite one, despite having enjoyed like the Firefly Funhouse match and the Boneyard match and Money in the Bank. I think this is my favorite one for a couple of reasons that maybe when we get all the way down the card, I can specify. But I was smiling like an idiot for most of it, and then at some points I was actually laughing so hard I was crying. Which, that's a great experience to have, so can't complain.
Well, look, let's start there. Let's start with the Stadium Stampede. We may as well, and then we'll kind of retroactively go back through it. But yeah, I mean, to me, it was just, I make no qualms about this. I like nonsense. I really, really do. And I understand you can't do that in wrestling all the time, because without that serious bite, like imagine, The Rock versus Steve Austin at WrestleMania 17 had been nonsense. It's just all gaga.
Sure.
It wouldn't have worked. And that promo they had beforehand when you watch and you go, these two want to beat the crap out of each other. But, when you go through the match and you have people like Broker Matt Hardy, and you have Sammy Guevara, who right now is not a comedy character, but can pull it off wonderfully.
God, he's good at it when he is called on.
Oh, it's so good. And Matt and Nick Jackson have always typed, walked that line. And, Jake Hagar is Jake Hagar to me. And Kenny Omega just doesn't care. I mean, go watch his stuff in DDT. He couldn't give two hoots. And that was what I loved about it the most. It was like... it was almost like watching a clip show on YouTube, in the sense that they were so worried about audience retention. They were like, okay, we're going to do 30 seconds here, then we're going to do 30 seconds here. And I thought they split off wonderfully.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you had Hangman and Sammy Guevara, and you had the Proud and the Powerful and Matt Hardy, and so on and so forth.
They did such a good job of using all of the space and all of the unique locations that they had access to.
Massively.
They really, you can tell watching it, not only that they walked through that whole space just racking their brains for like, what is the coolest, stupidest, funnest thing we can do in any of these places. You can also tell that this was a match that was put together by the Young Bucks, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, and Matt Hardy.
Oh yeah, and Chris Jericho as well. I find him such a fascinating character now, because he's never really been serious. He's always had elements of his character, even if he's not doing it specifically at the time. I mean, go back to WCW when he first sort of properly broke in. He was a bit of a goof. But, now he's got this legendary status. He could easily not do that stuff. But the fact he's happy to put a cone on his head and pretend to be a witch.
Yes.
I mean, it's just... That to me is a part of it. Because if, say, Santana had done that, I would have giggled. And I'd be like, yeah. But the fact that it's Chris Jericho... 30 years in the business, multiple-time world champion, leader of a group, probably, had the best 2019 of any wrestler you can argue.
Yeah. I mean, he earns a space in the conversation about, like, some of the very best to ever do it.
Through longevity, if nothing else.
And instead of taking himself hyper seriously, I mean, like, let's look at the difference between how, Bret Hart looks at Bret Hart versus how Chris Jericho looks at Chris Jericho. His ability to sometimes just be a fool or a wimp or an idiot to be entertaining is something I appreciate so much, because he can still go, and obviously he's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and he is a credible threat in the ring, but sometimes he just makes an ass out of himself because it's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
And so just as a complete, well-rounded entertainment machine, I don't know that there's anyone better. He's not like my literal favorite wrestler of all time, because I have preferences, different parts of the business appeal to me more or less than others. But like, if you want to talk about like the all-round greatest, he belongs in that conversation, because I mean, he absolutely slays on commentary too. It's not, he's good at everything. It's crazy.
Yeah. And he's a fascinating character because he believes in himself. I'm not going to call him arrogant, but when you hear him talk, he has incredible self-belief.
Yes.
And I think this ties into my point. I know other people like that, especially sportsmen. But they do take themselves too seriously, and they're allowed to because they go out there and they do they do the business. So you're like, well, how can I? You may be arrogant, but it's also the truth. Whereas Chris Jericho, especially a good few years ago, I couldn't work out if he was, if he had too big of an ego or if. You know what I mean? He walked that tightrope. But now after seeing all of this, I was like, no, I got this guy massively incorrect. He just believes who he is. He's an opinionated dude, but again, he's earned every right to be. And I mean, look, the funniest thing, and it shouldn't even been funny, but when he Judas affected the mascot, it was also the way that mascot sold it. I don't know why it was so funny. Went down like a ton of bricks. But I laughed out loud.
The only use of Chris Jericho's finishing move in the main event of Double or Nothing was to just destroy the Jacksonville Jaguars mascot.
I mean, for no reason, just because he didn't like him being there.
He did a little pelvic bump at Chris Jericho, and apparently you don't do that. You don't do that, Simon. You get your head taken off.
You do. And again, it was just so many, and we won't even talk about all of them, because one that I didn't even notice, and I should be ashamed of myself for not, given how much I played that game. But I can't remember if it was Tanner Ortiz now. I think it was Ortiz. Ortiz and Kenny Omega, Ortiz whipped Kenny Omega to the backstage area, and it was actually a riff on No Mercy on the N64 when you wanted to take someone backstage and you whipped them through the entranceway. They were actually parodying that, and they didn't expect anyone. I'm sure they did expect some people to pick up on that, which they did.
They reenacted a loading screen.
They did, and they didn't, but they never. It was there as like what Ben Stiller said about Dodgeball. You're meant to watch it multiple times because it's laid. That's what this match was. If you didn't see it, don't worry about it. Something else is coming around the corner that you'll enjoy. However, if you do get it, you're going to feel like you're part of a special club. And I massively respect that. And, the whole Matt Hardy thing. When Matt Hardy locked Thingamabob in the freezer and went, this will help with your inflammation, I was like, we've peaked. This is now the stupidest thing. But I think it was the commitment to the characters and the commitment to the idea. It's about, they didn't take themselves seriously, but they still kind of took the match seriously. They wanted to win, right? Mm-hmm. They wanted to win. And I get it. Some people don't like it. If it's not your form of wrestling, I don't hold that against you. I don't judge you. I can completely appreciate where you're coming from. But when I get to the end of a 35, 40-minute spectacle and I go, maybe I'll watch it again.
Yes.
That sums it up for me.
Absolutely. And they really did take advantage both of the space that they had and the cinematic format to do some really fun stuff. And this is the time to do it. You're probably not going to get another opportunity like this where you don't have fans and you have all the time in the world and all the empty stadium real estate in the world, Yeah,
absolutely.
So you may as well get this done and go for it. While that's the thing that you can do. And God, they went for it.
They did. And
the build up to this match involved Sammy Guevara running away from a golf cart, being driven by Matt Hardy, with Kenny Omega hanging off the side with this absolutely satanic look on his face, pointing at him, calling for the charge. And I was like, oh shit. They can't possibly build properly from this and escalate enough. And I've never been more wrong.
No, but there's nothing wrong with that, though. Do you know what I mean? It's
so happy to be wrong.
That's the thing. You can have an opinion, you can have an idea, as long as you hold your hands up. And I thought the really cool thing was, the Elite won, but did they? No. There was no winners or losers. Well, it doesn't matter.
Here. This doesn't say anything definitive about the Elite versus the Inner Circle.
Exactly.
It was just this wacky, Looney Tunes battle between these two teams of otherwise serious competitors who just went into Wacky World and went absolutely psycho for 40 minutes or whatever.
Although I will say the finish was anything but wacky. That was a crazy spot, and if you've seen the tweet during the rounds of the sort of bottom up shot, my word, that I know it was gimmicked and everything like that. That's a terrifying, one wing and angel from. Oh, geez, I tell you, go and find it. So I put it on my Twitter at Simon316 on Sunday night, I think. Go back and find it, but. I thought that was what really underlined it for me. I was okay, that would finish this.
Yeah.
we're
I had no problems with that being the end of a match, any match.
No, absolutely not.
It's clear that Sammy Guevara has no problems trusting Kenny Omega.
But Sammy Guevara in general, I'm not ashamed to say I didn't massively know about him before AEW started. But he's a testament, as well as Jungle Boy and MJF and all these other dudes. He's an absolute testament to what they're doing right.
Oh yeah,
because
Darby Allin too.
Yeah, it wasn't even. He's not even a guy that I would usually gravitate towards. No reason why. Again, we all just have these weird inclinations and intuitions that we go with. But now I look forward to seeing him. I love his character. He's so smart because he can lose every match for the rest of his career and he's still going to be over.
Yep.
Which is an unbelievably clever thing to do. That doesn't matter.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, but he's there and he's what, like 25 or something? I think he's younger than that. I don't think he's that old at all. Let me look him up. But yeah, that's. He's just great. He's 26. Sorry, he's 26. And that, oh man, he is going to be absolutely massive.